Deep within the archives of the Montana Territory, sealed away for more than 100 years, rests a worn leather-bound notebook that uncovers one of the most unsettling family mysteries in American history. This notebook, unearthed in 1943 by rangers clearing an ancient trapping path, holds 847 pages of precise daily records penned by 3 distinct writers, all from the same household. What these pages disclose about the harsh winter of 1867 in the isolated Bitterroot Mountains overturns our assumptions about endurance, mental health, and the shadowy depths of the human psyche. The officials who first examined these writings promptly sealed them away. For years, the grim reality of the Wainwright clan stayed hidden in official documents considered too shocking for general awareness. Before diving deeper into the account of Barnabas Wainwright and his 3 daughters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications. Tales like this are why we delve into America's overlooked records. Share in the comments which state you're tuning in from, as this narrative could unfold in any secluded spot across our expansive nation during those unforgiving pioneer seasons. The unearthing of those notebooks forever altered how detectives examined disappearances from the 1860s. What transpired in that distant lodge wasn't merely a misfortune. It was a detailed chronicle of how seclusion, hopelessness, and sorrow can alter even the most loyal patriarch into an unrecognizable figure. Barnabas Wainwright had established himself as a top fur merchant, trading between Fort Benton and the Canadian line. At 42, he was famed across the Montana region as a survivor who thrived where others failed, attuned to the wild's patterns and the fragile equilibrium needed to succeed in a land that claimed the unwary. His outpost along Beaver Creek in the Bitterroot Range acted as an essential stop for hunters, miners, and rare Army scouts traversing the area. The Wainwrights symbolized the ideal pioneer household. Barnabas wed Catherine Bellwether, the learned offspring of a Methodist preacher from St. Louis, in 1851. She ventured west with unyielding resolve, learning to cure meats, mend wounds, and run a tidy home despite the closest settler being 30 miles distant. Their 3 daughters, Margaret at 26, Elizabeth at 24, and Sarah at 21, possessed their mother's wit and their father's toughness. Unlike typical frontier youth, they enjoyed a solid schooling, with Catherine enforcing regular studies amid the toughest weather. Margaret, the oldest, boasted an exceptional recall and handled the family's ledgers, noting deals, climate shifts, and stock levels. Elizabeth shone as a tailor and caregiver, often aiding hurt trappers with frozen limbs, infections, or fractures. Sarah, the junior, had a remarkable talent for foreseeing storms and creature movements, averting many hazards for the group. The Wainwright outpost sat in a prime spot within a natural glade encircled by thick evergreens, with Beaver Creek offering constant fresh water and links to key hunting trails. Barnabas erected the primary lodge from sturdy timbers on a rock base, built to resist Montana's fierce cold spells that could strand families for months. Extra structures included a curing shed, storage barn, and a modest hut for visiting merchants. By 1867, they had amassed notable riches for the era. Barnabas controlled broad hunting territories, fostered exchanges with indigenous groups in the vicinity, and backed several ore sites with hopeful yields. The Wainwright reputation earned steam from Fort Benton to Helena, with Army leaders and regional authorities frequently seeking Barnabas's advice on the northern wilds. Catherine kept diligent letters to her kin in St. Louis, and her missives from the summer of 1867 depicted satisfaction and success. She eagerly described Margaret's betrothal to a prosperous trader from Helena, Elizabeth's rising fame as a mender among nearby native societies, and Sarah's creative gifts, which caught the eye of passers-by who requested her vivid illustrations of highland fauna. The rhythms of pioneer existence kept the Wainwrights largely alone for much of the year, depending on one another for fellowship, mental engagement, and heartfelt backing. In the extended winter periods, they assembled nightly by the Grand Rock hearth, Catherine reciting from volumes shipped from Eastern presses, the girls tending to home chores, and Barnabas recounting journeys or mapping next season's ventures. This independent, balanced way of life persisted for over 15 years, the family adeptly handling pioneer trials through strategic foresight, shared aid, and the pragmatic ingenuity that distinguished thrivers from the fallen in Montana's merciless backcountry. Distant neighbors viewed the Wainwrights as an exemplar, evidence that culture and grace could thrive in the remotest parts of the American frontier. October 15, 1867, signaled the onset of what veterans later termed the most brutal cold season in Montana's documented past. The initial snowstorm hit without the typical omens that veteran outdoorsmen depended on. Sweeping down from Canadian heights with savage force, it surprised even hardened hill folk. Catherine Wainwright was heading back from the stream after laundering linens ahead of the freeze, when the gale's leading blasts toppled her from the slim timber, crossing over the swift current. Margaret's record from that date, in her exact script, recounts detecting her mother's shouts over the roaring gusts. The three girls dashed into the swirling flakes, tracking Catherine's calls until locating her wedged under the fallen span, legs trapped by massive beams in the frigid flow already edging with ice. It required the joint strength of the four survivors to extract Catherine from the wreckage, but she had been immersed in the icy torrent for almost an hour. Barnabas bore his fainted spouse to the lodge, where they removed her iced garments and tried every known wilderness cure to revive her warmth. For 3 days, Catherine hovered between awareness and frenzy, her form racked by heat and shivers signaling lung infection. Elizabeth's notes from this time expose the mounting urgency as Catherine worsened despite their attempts. With scant remedies and the closest physician over 80 miles off in a hamlet unreachable after deep drifts, Catherine's respiration grew strained, and she mumbled nonsense about figures and locales from her Missouri youth, failing to identify her spouse or girls in clear spells. On October 18, 1867, Catherine Wainwright passed quietly in slumber, abandoning a family ill-equipped for the emotional ruin of losing the lady who anchored their hearts and guided their ethics. Barnabas, inseparable from his wife through 16 wedded years, lingered by her form for almost 12 hours, blocking his daughters from starting burial rites. The logistical hurdles of Catherine's passing emerged swiftly. The soil was already solid, frozen, delaying graves until thaw. Per pioneer tradition, they had to safeguard her remains in the curing shed till spring, a bleak fact compelling daily encounters with her physical form over the ensuing months. Margaret's log depicts the eerie task of shifting their mother's wrapped corpse, swathed in prime blankets, to the chill storage, where it would stay for half a year. Yet more alarming than the practicalities were the mental shifts surfacing in Barnabas soon after Catherine's demise. Sarah's records observe that her father quit resting in their marital chamber, instead perching nightly in the central space, gazing at Catherine's usual seat during family meets. He ignored grooming, letting his whiskers run untamed and attire grow ragged. The initial hint of graver psychic decline surfaced on October 25, when Barnabas started lengthy dialogues with Catherine's vacant spot, debating commerce choices, kin issues, and routine matters as though she replied. The girls first chalked this up to mourning, expecting their father to slowly grasp his wife's absence and resume typical ways, but by November's start, Barnabas prepared Catherine's spot at supper, dishing servings that lingered uneaten. When Margaret softly proposed ending this ritual, Barnabas erupted in fury, charging his firstborn with dishonoring her mother and vowing to exclude her from meals for such harsh ideas. The seclusion enforced by worsening storms left the Wainwrights without outside help or grounding in this vital phase. The closest kin, the Hendersons, dwelled 28 miles south on a path blocked once heavy flakes piled in late November. Army rounds, sporadic in milder times, halted for the cold, isolating the Wainwrights till spring. Elizabeth's logs from then chart her rising worry over their plight, remarking that their father appeared to vanish into a realm where mother endured, and they turned alien to him. She details spotting Barnabas in fierce debates with Catherine's seat, reacting to unheard remarks or rebukes, his tone swinging as in genuine exchange. As November's biting blasts locked the Wainwright family in their Highland solitude, the full burden of their bind settled over the distant lodge like a choking shroud. Built-up snow hit windowsills by Thanksgiving, forging a pale, walled jail that muted external noises, save the endless wind wails and the foreboding cries of wolf groups growing daring nightly. Margaret's logs show how fast their structured routine crumbled. Absent Catherine's oversight, long, smooth home patterns faltered. Meals turned haphazard, with Barnabas skipping food for days, then abruptly calling for grand spreads honoring Catherine's legacy. The girls trod carefully, unsure what could spark their father's mounting rages. The most unnerving alteration concerned Barnabas's handling of Catherine's items. He relocated her garments, ornaments, and belongings from the sleep chamber to the main area, positioning them near her seat as if she might reclaim them soon. He devoted hours daily to tending her locks, clipped from her before storage transfer, addressing them as if Catherine heard. Sarah's log offers the fullest view of their father's spiraling unpredictability. She portrays discovering him midnight, nude before the hearth, sharing private tales of their wooing, nuptials, and moments unfit for offspring ears. When she sought to drape him, he shoved her roughly, yelling she disrupted a key talk with her mother. By December, Barnabas viewed his daughters as unwanted outsiders in his abode with Catherine. He blamed them for diverting Catherine's focus, asserting their mother fretted over them too much to attend her spouse properly. In these claims, his gaze turned feral and distant, scaring the women, his speech shifting from childish begs to menacing snarls. The bodily seclusion exacted its mental cost on the daughters, confined not just by climate, but their father's hazardous mindset. Elizabeth's logs describe the perpetual strain of uncertain paternal moods, the bereaved husband weeping for his vanished love, or the resentful outsider faulting them for Catherine's end and begrudging their ongoing existence. Provisions, ample under usual intake, dwindled as Barnabas's sorrow showed in appetite loss or binging. The girls learned he secretly discarded meat stocks, insisting Catherine deemed them tainted. Reasoning provoked paranoia that they plotted to poison him and Catherine, leading him to stash edibles in secret cabin spots. Wolves, lured by scents, and humans amassed in record counts. Sarah's drawings cataloged their actions, counting over 30 beasts, far beyond prior sightings. The creatures appeared to detect the family's frailty, edging nearer nightly with howls, sinking into an eerie chorus, amplifying the clan's woes. Margaret's note from December 15 signals a pivotal shift in their trial. She writes, "Father conversed with mother's seat for 3 hours today, and afterward he regarded Elizabeth, Sarah, and me with a look I'd never witnessed. It wasn't a parent's view of his children. It was a man's gaze on something different. I dread we're losing not only father's reason, but his grasp of our bond to him." The note adds, he requested Elizabeth style her tresses like mother's. When she did, his stare unsettled us all. Then he urged Sarah to don mother's azure gown from last anniversary. Her denial ignited such wrath he hurled plates at walls, roaring we disrespected mother's memory. But his tone implied he no longer saw Sarah as offspring. She was another. Elizabeth's healing expertise, though restricted, helped her identify father's state as what period doctors termed brain fever or nerve fatigue, often from deep trauma plus solitude and hardship. Yet her insight gave scant relief facing the reality of controlling a mature man turned wholly erratic and risky. The daughters adopted watch rotations, one always alert to track father's deeds. They found he roamed outdoors at night, underdressed, to commune with Catherine's form in the shed. These visits spanned hours, and upon return, his conduct toward them grew more improper. Sarah's entry from December 20 offers a stark peek into Father's crumbling psyche. Last night, I trailed Father to the shed and eavesdropped. He addressed Mother as living, lamenting his solitude, craving her caress, the bed's emptiness. Then his pitch altered, discussing Elizabeth, Margaret, and me in skin-crawling ways. He noted our resemblance, movements like hers, how in low light he could fancy us as her. Christmas 1008-167 initiated what the logs later exposed as the bleakest phase of the Wainwright saga. Margaret's record that day starts with a foretelling remark. Father roused us on, demanding we wear Mother's attire for holiday meal. He laid 5 settings instead of 4. Questioned on the surplus, he stared puzzled and said, "For your mother, naturally, she'll arrive shortly." The mental strain of ceaseless guard frayed the daughter's coping. Elizabeth's notes show severe head pains and vertigo, blamed on stress from handling Father's whims while preserving family semblance. Sarah's art darkened, portraying wolves with human stares and lurking shades. The gravest turn hit December 28, when Margaret uncovered Father's letters to Catherine detailing his rising draw to the women, evoking you so strongly. These mattress, hidden papers held graphic accounts of bodily yearnings and amorous dreams no parent should harbor for kin. Margaret's log conveys her shock at these reads, especially Barnabas's claims that divinity sent his daughters to ease his pain, and Catherine's ghost approved seeking comfort in them. Elizabeth's health studies in scarce texts referenced grief, isolation cases eroding reality distinctions between proper and taboo ties, but her comprehension offered little balm against being caged with a man whose ethics had vanished. Sarah's entry from January 2, 1008 logs the first outright clash over Father's misconduct. Father trapped Elizabeth in the larder this morn and tried mouth, kissing her, saying she glowed in Mother's smock. Her push back enraged him. He labeled her heartless. Mother never denied his love, he said, and Elizabeth shirked her female role in comforting the home's master. The event horrified the trio. Grasping Father's decline surpassed grief into peril. Margaret's records show their frantic bids to craft safeguards without inciting worse from their volatile father. The wolves' tactics turned bolder and structured. Sarah's watches noted daylight approaches, fearless of humans, with group hunts implying family stalking. Endless night cries evolved to intricate calls resembling dialogue, fostering a besieged feel heightening mental duress. Stocks hit dire lows, Father's habits and squander creating true crisis. Elizabeth's math projected 6 weeks max at standard rates, but Barnabas's ways defied control. He hoarded secretly, citing Catherine's thief alerts, and shunned daughter. Cooked food, trusting only Catherine. Margaret's January 8 entry bears their despair. We've weighed trekking to Henderson's despite storms and beasts. Elizabeth thinks she could endure, but Sarah's build and my inexperience make it lethal. Worse, could we abandon Father now, or would he permit departure? They learned he sabotaged gear concealing snow gear. Confronted, he feigned unawareness, but acts hinted intent to keep daughters captive. Elizabeth noted, "I suspect Father knows his urges are wrong deep down, but instead of resisting, he's locking us in with them." The direst find was Sarah uncovering more letters, not to Catherine, but each daughter, stashed in the shed during vigils. These papers detailed romantic fixations, courtship schemes, and unions showing utter reality and ethic rupture. Sarah's log on the find, Father's missives show he sees us not as kin. We're now eligible females in his dwelling, wife substitutes fully. He assesses our forms, traits, partner potential with the detachment once for trades. Most frightful, he thinks Mother blesses this via shed talks. By mid-January, the daughter's new survival hinged on weathering winter, while containing a father-turned threat to their well-being and honor. The logs trace their realization that their beloved, esteemed parent was gone, replaced by a peril growing deadlier daily. The January 18, 1868, gale, recalled as Montana's fiercest recorded, was for Wainwright's worse than weather woe, a last wall against father's sanity slide to ethic ruin. Margaret's that day entry holds one terrifying line: the tempest bars flight, and father declared at meal that divinity granted his pleas by trapping his new brides. Elizabeth's health notes detail Barnabas's quickening collapse. He ceased sleep, nights toggling fervent chair talks, and bold improper touches on daughters. His look turned ghastly, tangled locks, sunken orbs, skeletal build evoking starved beast over one. Sonnered merchant. Sarah's log details unearthing wedding bands father forged from fused silver pieces, plus rough vows papers self, witnessed by Catherine. These signaled plans for separate rites soon. Just as the terror peaks in the Bitterroot Range, if this account chills you, pass the video to a pal fond of shadowy enigmas. Tap like to back our work, subscribe to catch all such tales. Join us in unveiling what follows in this authentic saga of endurance and lunacy. Margaret's January 22 entry exposes rising panic. Father pinned me in storage today, displaying our wedding band. When I said parents can't wed offspring, he turned savage, shrieking I wasn't daughter anymore, a female in his home, using his sustenance, thus bound to offer companionship mother's lost stole. His gaze showed no kin tie, only craving that petrified me. The organized aspect of Barnabas's schemes surfaced when Elizabeth found timetables for wooing each daughter. These business-style ledgers listed days for loving dinners, close chats, affection displays. The detached tone heightened the horror over fervent words. Sarah's illustrations captured father's breakdown proofs. The lodge interior warped into bizarre romance, seen with Catherine's goods as wedding decor. The eeriest depicts his chamber, redone with pilfered daughter items, blending wife memories with daughter dreams. Wolves reached peak boldness, testing lodge barriers by day. Elizabeth observed coordinated packs, diversions while others probed weak points. Their endless hover killed escape hopes even in brief clear spells. Supplies crisis worsened, but Barnabas weaponized food for control. Margaret detailed him denying meals to resisters of advances, saying unloving wives merit no food. This hunger mind game marked new calculated brutality amid his evident madness. The scariest event struck January 28, when Elizabeth awoke to father nude over her bed, clutching a self-made ring. Sarah's log recounts her screams drawing aid, finding him aroused, forcing the band while muttering divine consummation prayers. The trio subdued him physically, a scarring ordeal convincing them graver attacks loomed. Elizabeth's that night entry bears utter hopelessness. We can't feign father may regain wits or time heals this. He's a hunter in our haven, we his quarry. The teacher, protector, lover of us as kin is vanished, replaced by one seeing us as mere satisfaction tools. Daughter's reasoning bids grew not just useless, but risky, resistance fueling fiercer retorts. Margaret found sharpened blades hidden cabin, wide, father prepping for force opposition. His early army days lent strategy, making him tough foe despite decline. Sarah's log gives starkest view of his mindset. Father's gaze now lacks fatherly care or shield, only appraising conquests. He believes mother's end lifted moral bonds, daughter's his loss recompense. Most alarming, he can't fathom our repulsion, viewing horror as barriers to breach via doggedness and might. By February's start, daughters saw survival required defenses, father's army smarts and kin knowledge would thwart. They rotated rests, barred entries with furnishings, stashed improvised arms. But these gave brief shield against his overpowering force and cunning, exploiting their bonds and hesitation to harm him gravely. February 14, 1868 Valentines capped Barnabas Wainwright's madness plunge and launched a nightmare echoing Montana generations. Margaret's morn entry holds a frontier woman's most chilling words. Father proclaimed today ideal for wedding Sarah, with Elizabeth and me as divine blessing witnesses. The ultimate clash started when Sarah balked at Catherine's resized bridal gown. Barnabas's response erased lingering parent traces. He slapped her hard, felling her to hearth, gashing her brow permanently. Elizabeth's care skills proved key in ensuing brawl. As Barnabas tried forcing the gown, Elizabeth bashed him with iron pan, dazing him briefly, giving first true counter to his advances. Yet his army background and might made him daunting, even deranged. Margaret's log details the savage fray spanning nearly an hour, overturned pieces, broken panes, blood everywhere. Sarah's posts. Sketches show the space as war zone where family battled for essence. Most haunting, Catherine's scattered goods witnessing the ruin of their former ideals. Elizabeth broke a wrist. Margaret got shoulder slash from precise knife. Sarah, tiniest, dodged best using lodge layout and father patterns. Pivot came as Margaret weaponized his Catherine fixation. While sisters defended, she yelled Catherine condemned his acts, her ghost furious at daughter treatment. This pierced his delirium briefly, halting him to stare confused at empty seat. Sarah described, hearing Margaret's sight, mother's ire shifted his face. Briefly, Oldham flashed, appalled, lost, scared of his change, but it stiffened. He uttered eternal haunt. Catherine's gone, you birthed her death. Replace her or join. Barnabas, seeing unwilling submission, opted force for goals. Elizabeth clinically logged his sequenced overpower attempts starting Sarah. Her detachment speaks to trauma enabling function amid defending against former protector. Margaret's wit saved them, grabbing lamp, threatening lodge fire unless retreat. It paused him, but he knew their winter shelter mercy barred such. 6-hour deadlock followed, daughters bunkered in storage as he swung pleas and threats. Elizabeth treated wounds while weighing options. Endure till thaw evading assault, flee blizzard to likely doom, or end father's threat forever. Sarah's log reveals life, saving choice. The entity outside isn't father, a ravager set on our forms, consent or no. Loved father died via grief, solitude like mother's creek fall, remainder would ruin us body, soul if spared. Margaret's February 14 close. Tonight we grasp survival demands soul, shattering picks as lethal as death to forms. The Wainwright Lodge find in April 1943 by Forest Service scouts on routine trap survey yielded Montana's most shocking crime site. Ranger Thomas Kovacs filing to service and Marshal detailed decayed lodge remnants with 4 dried corpses and signs of aged violence. Probe showed 3 female forms in main space, plus vast papers, logs, missives, sketches, offering rare glimpse into frontier family psychic shatter during 1008, 167-68 harshness. The 4th adult male lay in curing shed, placed purposely by a woman's preserved form matching Catherine Wainwright's profile. Coroner Dr. William Hartley ruled daughter's deaths from hunger, exposure in late 1008, 168 winter-spring. Exams showed violence traces, mended breaks, guard cuts aligning log fights. More shocking, extended underfeed and stress where indicating months mind torment pre-death. Shed male told differing tale. Hartley found Barnabas died via single heart pierce, exact as anatomy, savvy strike. Wound site, angle showed aware victim facing killer, nixing mishap or self-end. Elizabeth's February 15, 1008, 168, final log filled gaps, fathers at rest with mother in shed of his spirit chats. We couldn't let his consuming frenzy persist, nor survive more as captives home. Margaret restrained while Sarah and I acted. He seemed shocked yet eased as comprehending his turn. Log adds, we swathed father in mother's cherished cover, laid by her for eternal wish. Gale passed, but weakness bars Henderson trek. Stocks empty, wolves daring daily. Margaret hobbles, Sarah fevers like mothers, my vigor wanes hourly. We vow no father, like change, despair won't monster us. Shaky final notes by all 3 show chosen cabin stay over exposure. Wolf doom risk. Last words show stark situation clarity, and Grace Father's frenzy nearly broke but couldn't vanquish. Sarah's art gifted investigators, wolf pack siege sketches, drawings depicted vast numbers, behaviors hinting unearthly smarts, coordination. These aided later nature experts on extreme wolf ways, but evoked grim isolation reminder. Margaret's precision tallied 127 isolation days, temp swings, wolf estimates. Her March 8, 1868, last, marks 143 post, mother. 144 suffices. Probe uncovered more on Barnabas's end weeks. Over 60 hidden letters to varied women. Catherine, daughters, unknowns. These mapped mind-reality divorce, building romance excuses for moral fall. Hartley's mind review from docs deemed Barnabas's break what current psychiatry calls full psychotic snap from mourning, alone-ness, frontier strain. Report cited like territorial cases where harshness, solitude bred shifts, turning good folk family risks. Marshall probe eyed if daughter's father, slay broke laws, but vast threat assault, violence records classed it defensible kill for life, honor safeguard, case shut quietly sans charges, honoring victims and dodging scandal publicity. Service logs show site hidden, maps stripped post. Probe remains in secret unmarked plots, evidence burned or archived sealed today. Stated secrecy, family honor guard, but memos hint fear of mind impact on other remote pioneers. Wainwright influenced regional winter alone rules, mandating remote settlers cold, season authority checks, route emergency stocks for family flight from home perils, queried local tribes on 1008, 167-68 gave context intriguing, disturbing. Elders told odd regional wolf ways, unusual packs, hunts. They heard wind, carried human wails ascribed to fractured kin ghosts. But probers knew as real Wainwright cries in torment months. Logs became study focus for officials, healers, early mind experts valuing extreme mind family break docs. But public barred for shocking incest violence details. Modern case reviews add horrors missed 1943. Script experts say some late Barnabas letters by Elizabeth, implying forced dictation in family torment. This layered more dread on control abuse tale. Weather data confirms Bitterroot 1008, 167-68 as Montana's record severe. Minus 40 degrees F, 12 plus FD snow barring even expert flight. Natural cell trapping with father's madness. Wolf Pros note Sarah's pack size ordination as rare stress. Driven predator unions making outdoor moves fatal. Case cited in Frontier Mind, Home Abuse, Extreme Survival Studies. Yet Wainwright details mostly public, hidden, in scholar talks and locked files few access. Recent site hunts fail, service saying obscured spot nature erasing traces, area hikers report metal, bone bits unconfirmed Wainwright linked, Bitterroot wolves dropped post 1008, 167-68, tribe saying Sarah's mega, pack scattered, died in harshness. Current wolf returns note odd avoidance of presumed site despite fit habitat. This enigma highlights how fast society's fragile layer erodes under aloneness, loss, dire straits. Wainwright warns frontier needed not just body survival, but mind strength even toughest sometimes missed. What do you make of this account? Think all was exposed or secrets linger in Montana peaks? Comment below your take on those bleak cold months. If this gripped you and you crave more scares from U.S. Concealed History, subscribe, ring the bell, share with mystery fans. Frontier hides many shadows, we'll expose them. Till next video.